Microsoft is preparing to change how you pay for Windows. If the signals coming out of Redmond are accurate, buying a copy of Windows once and owning it forever may soon be a thing of the past. We're talking about a subscription model, possibly tied to Windows 12, where you pay Microsoft every single month just to use your own computer. And if you stop paying, your PC stops working. That's the direction Microsoft has been openly moving toward for years. Summer and the evidence is now substantial enough that you need to make a decision fast. In this video, you're going to see what Microsoft has said and done to signal this shift, what Windows 12 is shaping up to look like, and most importantly, 3 concrete escape routes you can take right now. To understand why this is happening, you need to understand what Microsoft has become over the last decade. Microsoft used to be a software company that sold boxed products. Windows XP, Windows 7. Once you bought it, you owned it. That model generated revenue once per customer every several years. It was predictable but limited. Then Satya Nadella took over as CEO in 2014, and Microsoft began what is probably the most successful business transformation in tech history. The pivot was simple: move everything to subscriptions. Office 365, now called Microsoft 365, replaced the one-time purchase of Office. Azure became the backbone of Microsoft's revenue, and subscription revenue predictability became the Wall Street story that sent Microsoft's valuation into the trillions. The only major Microsoft product still sold as a one-time purchase to consumers is Windows. That's the anomaly. And Microsoft doesn't like anomalies. Here's where things start to get uncomfortable. In 2023, Microsoft launched a new tier called Windows 11 SE and expanded its Windows 365 Cloud PC service. Windows 365 is literally a version of Windows that lives entirely in Microsoft's cloud. You pay a monthly fee to access it, and when you stop paying, it's gone. That service was initially aimed at businesses, but Microsoft has been quietly expanding its scope. Also, in 2023 and into 2024, Microsoft began testing what it called Windows 11 subscription features in enterprise environments, including tying certain advanced features to Microsoft 365 subscriptions. If your company didn't have an active Microsoft 365 plan, specific Windows capabilities were locked. That's the corporate world today. And the consumer world is typically 18 to 24 months behind. Now add this: Windows 10 reaches official end of support on October 14, 2025. That's a hard deadline. After that date, Microsoft stops issuing security updates for Windows 10. Hundreds of millions of PCs that don't meet Windows 11's hardware requirements, specifically the TPM 2.0 chip requirement, will be left exposed unless their owners either buy new hardware, pay for extended security updates, or move to something else. Microsoft has confirmed it will offer extended security updates for Windows 10 for consumers for a fee. That's already a subscription for security, even if it's framed as optional. The pattern is visible. The question is how far it goes with Windows 12. Microsoft has not officially announced Windows 12 as a product name or confirmed a release date as of early 2025. What has been reported by Windows Central, The Verge, and other outlets with strong Microsoft sourcing, one is that Microsoft is working on what is internally referred to as a major next Windows release, and that it is being developed with AI integration as its central feature, built around the Copilot ecosystem. Reports from 2024 indicate that Microsoft is considering a model where the most capable AI features in the next version of Windows will require an active Microsoft 365 subscription. The base operating system may still be available as a one-time purchase or pre-installed on new hardware, but the full experience, the features Microsoft will market heavily, could be subscription locked. Think of it like this. Imagine buying a car, but the navigation system, the heated seats, and the driver assistance features only work if you keep paying a monthly fee. The car still drives, but the version they advertised, that requires a subscription. That is the model being discussed internally at Microsoft, according to multiple reports. And it's not a radical departure, it's a logical extension of what Microsoft has already done with Windows 11 and Microsoft 365. There's also the Copilot Plus PC angle. In 2024, Microsoft launched a new hardware category called Copilot Plus PCS, requiring a dedicated neural processing unit for AI features. These machines run features like Recall, Microsoft's AI-powered timeline that remembers everything you've done on your PC. Recall faced significant backlash over privacy concerns and was delayed, but Microsoft has not abandoned it. It's being positioned as a flagship feature of the next Windows experience. And Recall, in at least some configurations being discussed, one would tie into Microsoft's cloud services, meaning ongoing connectivity to Microsoft's infrastructure and potentially ongoing payments to keep it functional. Here's the part most people miss. Even if Microsoft never formally announces that Windows 12 requires a subscription, they don't have to. They can achieve the same result through feature fragmentation. Look at what already exists. Windows 11 Home versus Pro for workstations. Seal Microsoft 365 Basic versus Personal versus Family versus Business. Then there's Copilot Pro, which adds more AI capability on top of that. And Windows 365 Cloud PC for full cloud-based Windows access. Each tier unlocks more capability. Each tier costs more. And with every major Windows release, the baseline of what counts as a good experience shifts upward toward the higher-paying tiers. So even if you can technically run the next version of Windows without a subscription, the question becomes, will that experience be usable, or will it be deliberately hobbled to push you toward paying? Microsoft has been careful not to say that out loud. But their revenue model depends on moving consumers into recurring payments. That pressure doesn't disappear just because the PR messaging is careful. This is not fear-mongering. This is reading the product roadmap. Now, let's get to the part that helps you. You have 3 realistic options, and they are not equal. Which one fits you depends on what you use your computer for and how much friction you're willing to accept. Option 1. Stay on Windows, but on your own terms. If you're currently running Windows 10 on hardware that doesn't meet Windows 11's requirements, your immediate priority before October 2025 is assessing your situation. If your hardware is capable, upgrade to Windows 11 now. It's still free. That buys you time. Windows 11's mainstream support runs until 2028, with extended support through 2031. After that, when Microsoft's next major Windows release arrives, you can evaluate whether the free tier meets your needs. If it does, you're fine. If the subscription features are things you genuinely need, such as deep AI integration, cloud backup, or specific business tools, then a Microsoft 365 subscription at around $70 per year for personal use may simply be the cost of doing business. The keyword there is genuinely need. Most people use their computers for browsing, email, documents, and media. None of those requires a premium subscription. You can run a browser for free. You can use LibreOffice for documents at no cost. You can watch videos without paying Microsoft anything beyond the base OS. The trap is accepting feature creep as a necessity. Resist that. Option 2, move to Linux. This is the option that gets dismissed too quickly, and the dismissal is becoming less justified every year. Linux, the open source operating system, is free. It always has been. It always will be by its fundamental design. No company can impose a subscription on the Linux kernel. It's governed by open source licensing that prevents that. The more important question is whether Linux is actually usable for regular people today, and the answer in 2024 and 2025 argues more clearly yes than it has ever been. Distributions like Ubuntu, Linux Mint, and Fedora have graphical interfaces that are straightforward and familiar. Installation is guided step by step. Software management through package managers means you install and update programs without hunting for installers from websites. For web browsing, email, video calls, media consumption, and document editing, Linux handles all of it. Google Chrome runs on Linux. Firefox runs on Linux. LibreOffice is native to Linux. Zoom, Slack, Spotify, all available. Where Linux still has friction, gaming, and specialized professional software. If you rely on Adobe Creative Cloud, AutoCAD, or specific Windows-only business applications, Linux will require either finding alternatives or running Windows in a virtual machine, which adds complexity. But if your use case is general, and for most people it is, Linux is a complete, functional, and permanent escape from the subscription pressure Microsoft is building. The specific distribution I'd point most people toward is Linux Mint. It's designed explicitly for users coming from Windows. The interface will feel recognizable. The community support is extensive. And it runs well on older hardware, meaning the machine Microsoft's hardware requirements left behind may get 5 more years of productive use under Linux Mint rather than being discarded. Option 3, move to a different ecosystem entirely. If you're considering buying new hardware anyway, this is the moment to ask whether a Mac or a Chromebook solves your problem more cleanly than fighting the Windows trajectory. Mac OS is not free. It's bundled with Apple hardware, which carries a price premium. But Apple's desktop OS does not require a subscription to use its full feature set. iCloud is optional. Apple Intelligence, their AI feature set rolling out in 2024 and 2025, is included with compatible hardware at no additional monthly cost in its base form. For users who are already in Apple's ecosystem via iPhone or iPad, switching to a Mac can be seamless. Since Chromebooks represent the other end of the spectrum, they run Chrome OS, which is Google's Linux-based operating system. Chromebooks are inexpensive, some start under $300, and they are explicitly designed for cloud-connected, browser-centric work. If your workflow lives in Google Docs, Gmail, and web apps, a Chromebook may be more honest about what it is than a Windows PC pushing you toward subscriptions you didn't ask for. Assume Chrome OS receives automatic updates with minimal user friction and tends to run quickly on modest hardware. The trade-off with Chromebooks is that they are genuinely limited outside of browser-based tasks. Local software installation is restricted. They are not general-purpose computers in the way a Windows or Linux machine is. Let's be honest about what this situation actually is. Microsoft has built one of the most valuable companies in the world, in part by making Windows indispensable. The billions of people use it. The enterprise software ecosystem, the gaming industry, and decades of institutional inertia are all built around Windows. Microsoft's leverage here is enormous. What's changing is that Microsoft wants recurring revenue from that leverage. They've accomplished it with Office. They've accomplished it with enterprise IT through Azure and Microsoft 365. The consumer Windows business is the last significant piece that still runs on the old model. Whether Windows 12 arrives with a hard subscription requirement or achieves the same outcome through feature fragmentation, the direction of travel is clear. You will either pay more over time, accept a reduced experience, or find an alternative. That choice is not urgent today. Windows 10 is supported through October 2025. Windows 11 is supported through 2031. You have time to make this decision thoughtfully rather than reactively, but the window, if you'll forgive the word, for moving to Linux, evaluating a Mac, or restructuring your workflow around browser-based tools is much easier to navigate before you're pressured into it than after. The fundamental thing to understand is this: Microsoft is not doing something unusual. Every major tech company has moved towards subscriptions because recurring revenue is more valuable to investors than one-time sales. Apple, Adobe, Google, the industry moved in this direction a decade ago. Microsoft is closing the gap on its consumer OS. The question was never whether this would happen. The question is whether you act before it's forced on you or after. If you want to explore Linux Mint specifically, there are detailed setup guides available for free, and the official Linux Mint website walks you through the installation with no technical background required. If you're evaluating whether your current hardware supports Windows 11, Microsoft's PC Health Check tool will give you a definitive answer. Make the assessment now. The options are real, they're available, and they cost you nothing to evaluate. If this was useful to you, share it with someone who's still running Windows 10 and hasn't thought about what comes next. They have less time than they think.